Okay, so welcome to the drawing board. This is Min. I am an artist, and I am a freelance artist. I do illustrations for like magazines, do a lot of logos and some graphic design as well, and I also do comics. So this is basically a little experiment, if you will, on trying to draw live online. And the reason I did this is because I'm also an art instructor, and I teach senior citizens at a couple of facilities. And with the situation of COVID-19, all of my classes got canceled. So I'm doing this to try and stay in touch with people, and hopefully we'll get this going, and people could go on YouTube, watch it live, and also comment and ask questions if they need to. I'll try my best to multitask and do a demo, and also check my chat and answer to people. But maybe I'll do most of that at the end and look at the comments at the end. So today I'm gonna do a really basic demo. I'm gonna show people how to draw basic shapes, and it'll be let me see. We might have some slight lag with the camera here, so let me try and refresh this. Bear with me, this is all experimental. I'm dealing with a lot of new things, and I think it's working now. Okay, great. So yeah, today I'm gonna be going over pretty basic stuff. I'm gonna show you how to basically draw basic shapes and turn them into forms, and talk a little bit about shading, giving it texture, so that we can have things with a little more depth. And hopefully with this we'll learn to use those shapes to construct figures, like a person, a hand, or pretty much any object. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Let me turn off my camera here so we can focus on this. Okay, so and all you'll need today is basically just a pencil and a piece of paper. So I think it's a good idea to always start off with some warm-ups. So we want to basically get our wrists going, loosen up. So I like to do just a lot of, let me go a little lower here so you can see on the screen here, circles, just to ease up and get our hands loose. Because I notice a lot of times when I start off a drawing, it looks really dynamic, really fluid, but as I get towards the end, it becomes very stiff. And I think we got to kind of keep our hands loose. And from those basic circles, you could do ovals and really utilize your wrist the way this turns to make nice smooth curves. You could do nice smooth curves like this. But anyway, with ovals, you could draw two of them, connect the edges, and make a cylinder. Once you're done with circles, you could do squares. And the way I've done it, I also study architecture, and one of the things to make shapes really stand out is give it a little bit more emphasis on the corners there, and a fast stroke, right? Rectangles, trapezoids. Just get your hands going, get it loose. And also with these shapes too, it's really easy to give it some depth just by drawing two of them. And then connect the little corners here. To give it a third dimension. You could do this with other shapes too. And you could also do like an oval and just a dot in the middle, and that would create a cone, upside down cone. Okay, other things you want to do as a warm-up exercise is to do a little bit of shading. Just get your hands loose, going back and forth. We'll be doing a little bit of exercise on shading too, because shading is not just going like this. You could shade using different shapes. You know, you could do little short dashes. Oops, it's a little bit out of frame here. Let me move this down. You could do short dashes like this. You could do cross hatching as well. So go one direction and then go another direction. You could do stippling, just dots. And what I want you to do with this is try doing multiple darknesses. So we'll do highlights, mids, and shadows. So, you know, highlights, you know, you just give a few light lines. And for midtones, make it a little darker. And then for shadows, you want to go really dark, and sometimes it helps to kind of hold the pencil with your index finger and just really press on it to get that really dark shadow. If you're cross hatching, you know, really light, and then just move the lines closer together. And maybe for here, for the shadow, not only am I going to move it closer together, but also give it a nice cross pattern. You know, maybe a little bit further out in here. So see how many different shades and tones you can get just using these simple techniques. You know, for stippling, you know, you could maybe just dot the corner of the frame or whatever element it is that you're trying to draw for the highlight, so that it looks like it's kind of a bright shiny spot in the middle, and darker in the midtones, just go wild. And then the blacks, you go do a lot of it. Anyway, I'm not gonna do this for too long because I think you get the idea, and it could just get a little tedious. But also consider, you know, when do you want to shade this way versus this way. So let's say if I wanted to give these shapes depth, and I'm going to start with the cylinder here. You know, for this particular shape, I might want to shade with the contour here. You know, the sun is going to be above us, our light source is going to be above us. And so I want the darkest part out here, down towards the bottom. And then get a little bit lighter as I come further up to where the light source is. And notice I'm leaving a little bit of an edge down here that's not completely shaded. And the reason for that is light bounces back. So let's say if it's sitting on a white surface, the light's going to bounce back a little bit. And this is really important when you're drawing. You know, let's say how do you want to make a sphere look 3D, right? How do you want to make a sphere pop out? Well, you do that with shadows. So I'm going to do one here. And, you know, let's say the light source is up here. You know, this is our sun. And it's shining the lights onto it. So let's say the sun is actually in front of it. What you'll notice is that there's kind of a lights circular highlight right here, and it'll get darker in midtones over here, and it'll be a dark crescent shape shadow. So, you know, I'm just gonna make some really light lines in the highlight, and then make the lines closer together in the midtone. And even darker in the shadows. And if you're at home, you're not sure what you can use as a model, it's always good to draw with models to look at something to see how light really bounces off of it. But you could just do this at home with, like, you know, a desk lamp and get some fruit, draw some still life. So yeah, there's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit of shadow here, but it's going to get a little bit lighter as it goes towards the edge because this ball is going to be sitting on a light surface. And when it sits on a light surface, some of that light bounces back. And because the sun is going to be in front of this one, the shadow is going to go behind it a little bit. And depending on what the lighting condition is, if it's a sunny day, you'll get a nice sharp shadow. If it's an overcast day, you'll get a soft shadow. So let's draw another one of these. Now I'm going to draw one over here with the sun behind it. So what happens with the sun behind it is you get a crescent highlight here. The midtones will still be in the middle, and then you get a circular shadow over here. So, you know, I'll draw a little bit of shading for the highlights, and then a little bit more for the midtones. And then I'm going to go really dark across the lines here to get that really dark shadow. And I'm trying to apply fairly even pressure for the pencil here. I'm not trying to shade it by pressing hard on it. I'm just trying to crosshatch. The good thing about crosshatching is you can also do it with pen. It's a lot easier to it's one easy way to get some texture and shading when you're drawing with pen. And you know, with the sun behind it, the shadow's going to come forward a little bit, so it's going to be like this. And I'll do this as like an overcast day for this shadow. You know, we'll draw some clouds here. And now it's an overcast day. So with the overcast shadows, it's going to start off dark. Darkest closest to the ball here. And then it's going to feather out as it goes away from it. Also, don't be afraid to use your hand to kind of smudge things too, especially if you're trying to feather it out. So yeah, this is a overcast day shadow. Okay. So yeah, with these basic shapes, we could use it to build other things. So we could draw like a person. So let's try that. So if I were to draw a person, you know, we start off with the head. We draw the head. It can be kind of complicated, but for the purposes of this exercise, we'll keep it simple. We'll keep it just an oval. And, you know, for the neck, I draw a short cylinder. And for the body, for the chest, I draw a trapezoid. I feel like my hand's getting a little stiff, like I can see that my lines weren't so great there. But that's okay. So it's time to kind of loosen up a little bit. So yeah, a trapezoid for the chest. And for joints, like the shoulder, I like to draw spheres. And cylinders again for the forearm. And these cylinders are going to taper off. It's going to start off a little thicker because our arms are generally a little bit bigger the higher up they are. And it's going to taper off. And joints for the elbows. And for the stomach, I'm going to draw a ball, even though it's not technically a joint. But like I feel like we could really like pivot around our stomach a lot, right? Our abs. We could do a lot of motion if we do stretches. We could lean forward and back. So yeah, I give it a ball shape just because it's easy for me to have the figure spin around like that. And then for the pelvis, I'm gonna do a upside down cone, and then we'll just keep building up on it. And a lot of this also depends on the scale. Like, if you're drawing something, if you're drawing a close-up of the face, you could break down the head into many different shapes. You could make a triangle out of the nose, and there's the head kind of actually is more like a circle here. It's kind of flat on this side. But I'm not going to do that for now. I'm not going to overly complicate things. But I want you to think about the scale of things and how detailed you want to get. Like for the hands here, I'm not going to get very detailed with the hands because it's going to be small and we're not going to really be able to see it all that well. So I'm just going to kind of quickly draw some fingers. We could go into a little more detail talking about hands a little bit later. But at this scale, I'm just not going to do too much. And the feet, I'm gonna make it into two sections. One for the majority of the foot. I'm gonna make it look like a wedge of cheese. And then the toes be another rectangle. So yeah, that is the skeletal structure for the person. And now we could go back and we could fine tune it. We could go in and give it more definition, add in more details. There's like the little ridge, which actually draw lines where the eyes and the mouth are. So if you draw a little ridge where the eyes are going to be, and this little texture where the mouth is, and the chin could come in, could be a little more chisel. We could connect the back of the neck. There's little bones and lines here. I'm gonna give it a little more character in the shoulders as well. So I'm gonna connect the middle of the neck to the shoulders. And there's specific proportions that you're supposed to use for drawing the perfect person, but I don't get too hung up with that because people are rarely perfect, and unless you're trying to draw stuff for very scientific purposes, for medical book or something, you don't need to be that serious. We just want to draw for fun, and we don't want it to be stressful. So again, I'm going to give it a little more definition where the arm is. So where it meets the elbow, it's going to be like a little bit more of a shape here, and then come back down, and then I'm going to draw where the fingers are. Oops, made the pinky a little too big, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect for this. Again, give it a little more definition there. This is where it starts to sink in, and then the forearm comes back out a little bit. The elbow, give it a sharp little bend in where the elbow is. And draw the fingers out. This one should be longer. Okay. And again, we give it a little more shape here. And depending on whether you draw a man or a woman, the hips might come out, or for a man it'll kind of come in a little bit more, but for a woman it'll be a little bit wider. And just going to keep connecting these lines. Again, where it goes to the joint, it's going to come in, and it's going to widen out a little bit, and it'll have a nice little curve. You give it more definition on this side as well. This is where the knee is, and this little ball here, I can use that as the ball joint for the foot, and give it a little curve, show the base of the foot. And there we go. Also, just like drawing the boxes, you want to, you know, kind of know where you're going to stop and give it that extra little oomph right here. And you draw the toes, draw the ball of the foot. And to give this more depth, we could start shading it, you know. Let's put the sun on this side now. You know, we could see that this is the head is like a sphere. So the sun is on this side. This corner here will be darker. So we'll start shading this side. Also underneath the eyes, there's usually a little bit of shadow, especially if it's under a direct sun. There'll be a little bit of shadow on this side of the nose here. We're gonna make this like just a mannequin. We're not gonna give it eyeballs. Then it comes to life and get a little scary looking. Underneath the head here, there's gonna be a little bit of shadow, just like we're drawing the shadows underneath the sphere. So I'm just gonna kind of lightly shade all of the right side. And I'm doing this kind of quick and sloppy. But I basically want us, we want the highlights on this side of his body, so we just want to have a good amount of midtones here. And then we could decide, where do you want to have more of the shadows? You know, it'd be like here, where's the underarm here. This part is where it's covered, so maybe I do some crossing lines to give it more shadow. Right, and you know, also here where this armpit is, this might be where the shadows are. You know, underneath here, I kind of already did this earlier, but this would be where a lot of shadow is. And you know, you could give him more definition in the body. This guy's gonna be ripped. Here we go. Okay, maybe a little belly button as well. Okay. So yeah, there's a little bit of shadow underneath the knees as well, because it's like basically a ball joint, so you want to give it some shadow underneath it. You know, this side of the foot that we don't see, we're going to shade it as well. So that's the basics. You could go into more detail, and you know, you don't have to necessarily build up every part of the body every time you want to draw something, but it's good as like a beginner's lesson. You know how to construct something. If you ever drawing something and the proportions don't look right, or something looks weird and out of place, try to break the form down to something that's easier to understand. And when you get more practice, you know, you could draw a person pretty quickly. You know, you don't have to draw, you know, perfect cylinders. You could just kind of do ovals and, you know, be very loose. And it's also a good warm-up exercise too. Like, just try to loosely draw a person, right? See how you go about doing that. And you do it fairly quickly. Yeah. And you know, also too, if you're drawing on a smaller scale, you might not be able to draw all these detail. You might want to go a little quicker. Let's say if I were to draw, let's draw another one. Let's see how much time I have here. Okay. Let's say I want to draw like, you know, a ballerina, and I want to do it fairly quickly. And I'm just gonna very roughly draw all these joints. This is what happens when you have a lot of practice. You could kind of do it very quickly without thinking too much about it. But if anything looks weird or out of place, you know, you could go back to constructing those shapes. You know, and I could go back and add in more detail. But you kind of get the idea. You can very quickly construct how to draw a person. Oops, this looked a little off again, so you know that happens. Didn't follow the lines all that well. So kind of there you have it. Very rough. I could go back and add more details if I wanted to. I want to do one more thing before this is over. I want to show you how to draw a hand. Now, when we draw a hand in more detail, we could go back and add in those shapes again. So I look at the hand as though the palm is, you know, one shape. And the other good thing too, like if you're locked up in the house, you have nothing to do, you know, you can't really go and draw people, but yet you could still go and draw your hand because you have that as a model. It's right in front of you. And you know, each finger is broken down to 3 separate sections. And the thumb is a little tricky because you have one joint that starts like over here, but you don't really see it. So it starts over here, comes out over here. So after that, you do that, you could go back and skin the details, you know, add where the flap of skin is. So here, there's like this would be like a flap of skin right here that you don't really see. You know, you don't see the bones, but you kind of fill it in. And this is why it's also important to, like, you know, start off with light lines. So you gotta practice drawing light to dark, dark to light. And you could, you know, go in and break it down. You know, sometimes, you know, even though our hands is kind of flush right here, if you look at the inside of palm, you know, there's a little crease here as the layers of flesh kind of get bends. So sometimes you could even break this down to like 2 shapes because it feels like it kind of bends a little bit. So think about those things. Think about how the shapes are formed, and that's how we go about drawing things. So that's pretty much it for today. Fairly simple, fairly short, and I think that's just something that is kind of the basic components to how to draw anything. You just learn using, you know, take a complex object and break it down into simple shapes. So I would say go practice that. You could, you know, put out a bowl of fruit and just use that to draw spheres, and try drawing cups, cylinders, draw some still life, or you could practice drawing your hand. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you like this, this is like the end of the show, so I guess I tell you to like and subscribe. Comment, tell me what you want to see, what you like, what you didn't like, what you want me to draw. If you're interested, you could also go to my website, www.fuglee.com. I just recently put it up. It's a little bit bare right now, but there's a few things. You could see some comics that I've done. You could also find out a little bit more about what Fuglee is and who I am, if it will load. There we go, it's loading. And you could also see some of my artworks. Yeah, click on my head to see about me. Click on a pencil, and you can see what it is that I do. So some of my artwork. And you can also, there's some videos, you can find out more about me. And my contact info, I am available for freelance. So yeah, feel free to contact me or connect with me through my social networking stuff. That's it. And yeah, I'm gonna end the show. Okay, go away now. Go do something else. Show's over.